What we're seeing in the world is a card game. And you're seeing 7 men as they sit around a table. And they're dealing out cards. But the card they throw this one says Ukraine. The card they throw this one says Canada. The card they throw this one says the biggest of them all, the U.S. With Israel's card in the center of the table. Whoever wins this can have that. And so you hear a jackal stand up and tell Vladimir Putin, tell Mr. Putin. Now let's think about this, just to tell the man. Well, if it's only going to be a limited invasion, then it's kind of all right. However he said it. If it's going to be a limited, which sparked and showed you that Ukraine had plans of being divided like East and West Germany. But they were counting on a force coming from another time portal to come into this realm. But it didn't make it. It didn't make it in. And now they're turning on themselves. You need to take heed to what this prophet told you during this service. Because mercy was offered to some politicians. Other things were offered to others. You better listen. Your whole world is about to implode upon you. While God marches on. And hear the threats of nuclear annihilation. Because someone recognizes the world has been steeped in fear. If a face covering and a jab can scare people into turning their neighbors into the police. If it can scare, who would have ever guessed in the United States of America? Who would have ever guessed right down there in Birmingham, Alabama, that there would have been police on the street stopping cars after curfew? And if you didn't have papers, they put you in jail because you didn't have papers to stay on the street. Why didn't they just grow a little mustache right here and stick their hands straight out? It's because if that will scare the people into almost hiding in caves, a real nuclear fallout would cause them to beg. So every time someone says something, I'll push the nuclear button, they say. I have these many warheads, they say. Knowing, the world knows, there's no one capable of finding the button in Washington, much less with the nerve to push it. They can't even find the briefcase. Some of you will get that. Where is leadership gone? It went with God. When God was voted out, it left. Yes. When God was voted out, it left. I remember watching a thing one time, Ronald Reagan. God, I miss him. I remember watching a thing one time with him sitting at a table. He was eating a steak with Gorbachev. You know, everybody thought Gorbachev was Antichrist because he had that spot on his head. He was eating a steak, and they looked at Ronald Reagan. This was during Star Wars when they were getting ready to put the satellite system up. And it was Reagan that broke the Soviet Union. And they looked up at him and said, Mr. Reagan, they think you're going to start a nuclear war. This was Ronald Reagan's response. And he cut his steak. He never answered anything. They knew. You better leave him alone. When Donald Trump, I try to say things in a coded form. When DJ was president, and still is, but when he was recognized, none of this happened. But now you got people running things from basements, breathing through a handkerchief. Who's scared of that? Now, you should have known when Mr. Trump held up his Bible and said, we're going to go by this. You should have known when they opposed him who didn't want to go by this any longer. You should have all jumped out. People should have just started throwing rocks at them at that point. Just turned into Ernest T. Bass off of Andy Griffith and just started throwing rocks at them and run them out of town. But they didn't. They left them in there. Now watch this. I heard some things, and I'm just going to kind of read some things that I haven't said in a while because they've been written down a while, but I haven't said them. This is on February 15th. I heard this in the middle of the night. I heard something about shelf on the coral reef. A shelf on the coral reef. I heard, this is going to sound wild, but I don't, maybe I shouldn't even say that. But I heard this. I'll give you this one. I heard Cuomo dragon. Not a Komodo dragon. I heard Cuomo dragon. Now, I heard something about, a second sight. The second sight of the Cuomo dragon. I heard when you're in the night, you're just in the spirit in the nighttime. The Lord just talks, you know. I heard Billings, Montana, and then I heard the name Ronnie. If I can read this, Ronnie Pons. Ronnie Pons. I think it's a native name. Pond. I can't read it. Pondsill, I think. Then on February 15th, I'm just going to kind of give you what I heard. This was on February 15th. I heard the name Mickey, heard the name Montague, and I heard the words foreign invasion. That was on February 15th. Hallelujah. I heard to be remembered. I heard Hillary, and then I heard Taggart. And I heard those two names. Keep that in your mind. And I heard these things that all of these things I've told you today. Yeah. I heard these things in the Spirit. And they should be taken heed to, because if I won't tell you I heard something if I didn't hear it. And so I heard these things. And so I want everyone, maybe you need to go back and watch this again. Maybe you need to take notes on this again and hear what was said. I want you to begin to take authority where you are. And understand this, God has not left you alone. He has not abandoned you. And He will not walk away from the Ukraine. He will not. He will not walk away. This is not the time for all of this to be taking place. The time will come when there will be a world ruler that will try to rule the world. Even then he won't rule the whole world. But he will come and try to exercise authority. Men will bow to his mark. Men will take whatever jab he says. They will do whatever he says. But this is not that time. This is the time when the restrainer that lives in the church rises up and pushes it off and pushes it off and pushes it back. This is that time. So rise up and know there's no way you're going down. You're not going down. You're going to go over the top. If God has to blast you over the top, He will put you over. Hallelujah.